Let's start with Danby. She's a high school senior just days away from her university entrance exams, and honestly, math is her worst enemy. No matter how hard she tries, she always drifts off in class. Her teacher can't stand it. One day, he calls her up to the board, but of course, she stands there clueless. The teacher loses it, scolding her in front of everyone. When Danby gets home, she ignores her books and escapes into her phone and music. Her mom watches her, clearly frustrated, and jokes, "If you worked on math the way you memorize song lyrics, you'd be a genius already." She teases Danby, blaming her math troubles on her dad, who also struggled, and warns her that no university will accept her at this rate. But what really drives Danby crazy? When her mom grabs the remote and flips the TV to one of those endless historical dramas. That's it, she's done. Danby heads out straight to her best friend's place. Her friend isn't much help, just reminds her again that this exam is her last shot. Fail now and there's nowhere left to go. Next morning, Danby oversleeps. She scrambles out the door, running late for her big test. Her mom tries to encourage her, telling her to do her best so she can get into a good school, but Danby's nerves are out of control, especially with math looming over her. She tries to cram on the bus, barely focusing, and almost forgets her umbrella as she rushes to the exam center. Standing outside, rain pouring down, Danby freezes. The fear hits hard, she's not ready. She actually thinks about running away instead of risking failure. She sits in the rain, heart pounding, quietly wishing she could just disappear. There's a puddle right in front of her, a shallow one, nothing special. She steps closer. Suddenly, things get weird. She spots a group of people in strange, old-fashioned clothes, all huddled together, praying for rain. They say it hasn't rained in 3 years and people are dying from drought. Before she knows it, Danby falls into the puddle and starts to drown. But she doesn't die. Instead, she pops up again in the same spot, only now everything's different. She's in another world, totally confused. Danby starts asking the people around if they're filming a historical drama or something. The king, watching her odd behavior, freaks out and shouts, demanding to know if she's some kind of demon. Danby blurts out, "No, I'm just a high school student." But apparently that sounds like a magic spell to everyone around, which only makes them more terrified. Suddenly, guards surround her, swords at the ready. The moment she realizes those swords are real, panic takes over. She tries to bluff her way out, saying, "I know why I'm here. Please, God, send the rain." The people immediately start repeating her words like a prayer. But as soon as they look up, poof, she's gone. She's already bolted, running until she finds herself in a room full of ceremonial robes. Danby quickly grabs a disguise, dressing up like a temple priest, and sneaks into a meeting with the king. In the middle of the gathering, the king suddenly declares that they need to forget about superstitions and start learning science and math to solve the kingdom's problems. Of course, the chief priest isn't having it. He calls the idea dangerous nonsense. According to him, math is just another superstition, and there's no way anyone can understand nature with equations. He claims the drought is because the heavens are furious with the king, and the only fix is for the king and queen to do some sacred ritual. While all this chaos unfolds, Danby slips out, determined to track down her phone, but she gets caught again. While she's waiting for the king to show up, Danny starts thinking, maybe she can escape if it finally rains. Then the king arrives, and honestly, he completely throws her off. He says it hasn't rained in 3 years, and on top of that, he's not impressed by her at all. He announces she should be executed right away. Danny panics. She begs, "Please wait, I'm just a student from the future, I landed here by accident." She tries to talk her way out, saying she knows all about history. That falls flat, so she blurts out that she's also a whiz at math. That catches the king's interest. He decides to give her a shot, solve a Pythagorean theorem problem right there. At first, Danny stares at the problem like it's written in another language, then it clicks. Oh, it's just the Pythagorean theorem. She knocks out the answer in no time. The king can't believe it. He says his own scholars usually need 3 days to solve something like that. Suddenly, everyone starts treating Danny as Gossam, a male scholar. The king gives her a mission: teach math to the people. If she succeeds, he'll let her go back home. But first, he's her student, and wow, turns out the king doesn't even know how to count. Danny takes a deep breath and starts from scratch. Numbers, basic addition, subtraction, all the way up to multiplication. She's patient, but it's a lot. Soon they're getting ready for a math contest against a rival city musician. If Danny loses, she'll get punished. No pressure, right? She gets so frustrated with the king's mistakes that she actually hits him. The guards rush in, ready to kill her for daring to touch the king, but he just laughs it off and tells them to relax. Whenever the queen pops in, they scramble to hide the math papers and pretend they're practicing music instead. One day, the king notices Danny looks half-starved. He invites her to eat, but she hates the food, so she drags him to the kitchen. She whips up some instant noodles with the stuff from her bag. The king loves them, even though they're ridiculously spicy. When she offers him water, he refuses. He likes the heat. The next morning, the whole palace hears the king screaming. Danny runs in and finds him with a protective talisman on his ear. He's convinced she cursed him. She just rolls her eyes. "Look, superstar, it was just noodles, not black magic." No curse, just a chilly overload. When Danny tells him that, he goes, "What's a stomach anyway?" So Danny sits him down and explains. She tells him what a stomach is, what intestines are, even about the heart. She says, "If you put your hand on your chest, you'll feel it beating." He tries it but says, "I don't feel anything." Danny just smiles. "That's okay. One day when you're with someone you love, you'll feel it." King is amazed by how much Danny knows. He starts to see her as a true scholar. He asks her to teach all the royal scholars of Joseon, not just math but everything, science, agriculture, you name it. That night he offers her a tangerine. Danny just says thanks like it's no big deal, but for him it is. He's totally thrown off by her casual attitude. "You're a Joseon wanderer, you should have saved that fruit for at least 3 days," he said. "You don't appreciate what you have." She just laughed. "It's just a tangerine, don't be so dramatic." Later, they kicked a ball around the palace courtyard. She even got him to run, and he hadn't done that in years. The next day the king sat with his future bride. He told her he'd be served a magical love potion in his stew that night, and after that they'd get married right away. But life rarely goes as planned. Somehow that bowl landed in Danby's hands. She started acting strangely, then fell asleep in the palace. When she woke up she kept apologizing to the king. He just waved it off. Nothing happened. "Go on, forget it." They walked outside together. He told her if she finished her mission she'd get a high council rank and even a royal horse, but she shook her head. "I don't want anything. As soon as it rains, I'm going back to my world." The king looked at her, serious now. "Then don't treat me like a king anymore. We're equals, man to man." The next day everything fell apart. Danny was arrested, accused of mocking the king. They tied her up, ready to torture her. The king stepped in, telling the priests this young scholar had valuable knowledge. One priest jumped at the chance. "Fine, I'll test him myself. He has 2 weeks. If it doesn't rain by then, he dies." Danny didn't give up. She kept studying, calculating, trying to figure out a way. The palace musician helped her build a rainfall gauge. Then out of nowhere the rain came pouring down. Danby was overwhelmed with joy. But the king remembered her words, she'd leave once it rained. He rushed to the house where she was staying and found her crying in front of the rain gauge. Overcome with emotion, he told her, "You need to escape now. I've been getting ready for this. There's a ship for Ming waiting." But she just shook her head. "I've spent my whole life running. I only ended up here because I was trying to escape my own world." That moment, the palace musician showed up. He'd been secretly working with the high priest. The priest had ordered him to kill the scholar, convinced Danny might really be from the future. The musician told the priest, "If that's true, he's even more dangerous. We have to get rid of him." Musician whisked Danny away, put her on a horse, and they galloped through the woods till they reached a quiet forest. There he told her, "I've known you're a girl for a while, but I'm a decent man. Your secret's safe with me." She explained she never meant to hide it. The job had been for a boy, she just took the chance she was given. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the high priest tried to convince the king they had to wipe out everything Danny had brought, especially the new written language she was creating. They had to stick with tradition, erase the boy's influence. But the king couldn't live with that. He left the palace on horseback, desperate to find her. Deep in the forest, the guards finally caught up with Danby and the musician. He let her slip away, then stood his ground, fighting off the guards until the queen herself showed up, her feet raw and bleeding. She'd run all the way there, frantic, calling their names. Danby kept moving, following the road until she hit a fork. She froze, totally lost for a second, then remembered something the king once said. The sun is Jeason's clock. She let the sunlight lead her, and it pulled her straight to the sea. And there, waiting for her, was the king. They sat together that night, side by side under a sky full of stars. She told him, "In the future we don't see stars like this, just the brightest ones." He looked at her and said, "Right now you're only seeing the stars you choose to see, but if you really look you'll notice more. They were always there, you just never noticed. The eyes see what the heart wants." A quiet moment, the king confessed he loved her. He told her about his dream, to create a new, simpler language so everyone, not just nobles, could learn. Out of nowhere she remembered something, dug into her things, and pulled out money from the future. His face stared back at her from the bills. That's when it hit her, he really would change the world. When the king returned to the palace, he declared that from now on, anyone who truly served the people would get a salary. The high priest, much to everyone's shock, said he agreed. People who help should be rewarded. "What do you think of Gome?" he asked, but the rest of the court was furious. They wanted Gossam banished, even executed. Still, Danny kept secretly teaching the king math, writing, logic right under the noses of the priests. One day, wandering the palace, she found the queen hiding in a corner, eating in secret. They'd forbidden her from eating too much, worried she'd gain weight and lose her looks. Danby handed her a cup of instant noodles from her stash. The queen took it, and as they ate, they started talking for real. That was the start of a genuine friendship. A few days later, the queen came to the king and said she knew everything. She'd already told the queen mother too. After all, Danny was supposed to become one of his concubines. Suddenly, Danny found herself being dressed up by the palace maids, makeup and all. She had no idea what was happening until it hit her. They were getting her ready for the king's midday rest. She was supposed to be his first woman. As soon as she realized, panic took over. She bolted, running from the whole madhouse scene. One of the head maids ran to the king, blurting out that Danny had escaped. The king rushed after her, and when he finally caught up, he grabbed her arm and pulled her into a room. Danny screamed, "You said we'd just be friends. I'm only 19." The king laughed. 19, that's 3 years into adulthood, you're not a child, and come on, I've known you're a girl for a while, have I ever touched you? No, but tonight you have to stay, everyone's watching. Don't worry, I'm not going to eat you alive. Honestly, my mother's impossible, nobody can talk her down. Next morning, Danny went to talk to the musician. He asked, are you sure you want to go back to the future? But she couldn't answer. She just sat there, totally torn, her heart a mess. Later, the queen came to her and said someone wanted to see her. So Danny walked into the palace and found herself face to face with the queen mother. She saw a woman who looked exactly like her mother. That was it, Dam just broke down. Nobody around her knew why she started crying so hard, but she couldn't stop. That night, she went out to see the new astronomical system of jeason. She'd helped build it herself, and now it would finally let the kingdom keep track of the days and months without guesswork. The king had something else to show her too. He invented a whole new alphabet, 28 letters, simple enough that not just scholars but anyone in Joan could learn to read and write. He led her into the center of the great hall. Then he asked her to sit in the ceremonial chair, and as she did, he put the royal hairpin on her head, a symbol of marriage. He looked at her and asked, stay with me, forever. Dam started crying again. She told him, I can't, I promised myself I'd leave once the rain comes, my mother waiting for me and she trusts me. The king tried to keep his voice gentle. Go see her, then come back, let's live here together. But Dam shook her head. That's when he lost it. He snapped, fine, the future's better than Josian anyway, full of sickness and disease, do whatever you want. He stormed away, heartbroken. Dam just stood there, frozen in the hall. Out of nowhere, someone struck her on the head. She blacked out. While she was unconscious, someone stabbed her with a sword and set the whole building on fire. When the king heard what happened, he didn't care about the flames. He ran straight in to save her. The next morning, he called in his assistant. The ancient text disappeared last night, he said. He blamed the high priest, accusing him of stealing it. The king grabbed the priest's hand and hissed, didn't anyone teach you how to erase all the evidence after pulling a stunt like this? Then he turned to Dam. Was that the voice you heard? She nodded. Turns out, the book she'd been carrying in her bag had stopped the sword from killing her. The king, furious, rounded on the priest. You knew what he meant to me. Why did you do this? The priest didn't flinch. His voice was cold. Because if this new language spreads, young people will start thinking for themselves. It'll be chaos. The kingdom will fall apart. I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of the disorder that'll ruin everything we've built. The king shook his head. Even if you try to stop it, I'll build this writing system for the people. I want to help them dream bigger. Why are we so scared of a future we'll never even see, a world we don't know? But the priest wouldn't budge. He dropped to his knees. Execute me, end this now. Outside, the sky turned gray. Rain started, just a drizzle at first. Danny wandered the palace, saying goodbye to her friends one last time. When she was ready to go, the king asked to walk with her as far as he could. They moved together, quiet, all the way to the shore. Danny stepped into the same pond she'd once fallen into, letting herself slip beneath the surface. Just like before, she sank, and then suddenly she broke through again, back in her own world. She glanced around and realized barely any time had passed. She could still make it to the exam. She sprinted to the test hall, heart pounding, and saw her teacher waiting by the door. The entrance exam had just started. She rushed to her seat, took a breath, and dove into the test. Later that day, Danny walked home and found her mom waiting for her. She ran straight into her arms and held on tight. Something in Danny felt different now. Her outlook, her behavior, everything had shifted after her strange journey. She started seeing the people and things around her in a whole new light. Months rolled by. One afternoon, as she left school, the sky cracked open and rain poured down again. Out of nowhere, someone held an umbrella over her head. She looked up and froze. The face was so familiar. He looked just like the king of Josian. But he only smiled and said, we met a long time ago on the bus. You dropped your umbrella. And that's how the story ends.